Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Get Your Fill with Phil the Thrill. I am joined by both of my brothers, Brian and Steven. Welcome to the
What's
show,
up,
boy.
motherfuckers?
Yep.
You guys looking fucking salty and jacked as usual. I like it.
I'm fucking fat, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty
It's
fat too.
Me too,
I'm like
man. I
CM
drink,
Punk. I'm like CM Punk skinny fat.
bro, I drink a beer every day, man. I'm just trying to lie. All right, so Steve, you have been designated to keep track of the card. So run us through the first fight. We're gonna just break down the UFC 249 card and give our predictions, and let's go. We'll start from here.
All right. So obviously this card's been put together last minute. I think it's pretty stacked
I
for the
agree.
time they had to put it together, and obviously, the restrictions of bringing in certain fighters because there's travel restrictions, etc. So we'll start with Uriah Hall and Jacare Souza. Keep in mind it's a middleweight fight. Jacare is coming back down from light heavyweight after going up. He just lost a close decision to Jan Blachowicz, whatever the fuck his name is. The next guy that's gonna get beat up by Jones.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't see how Uriah Hall wins this fight, to be honest. Jacare's got a pretty withstanding pressure about him. He's obviously way better than Uriah Hall in the grappling department. Yeah, I think Jacare TKOs or submits him. I don't see this going to a decision.
Which round?
I mean, it could be first, second, or third. Really, I don't think Uriah Hall makes it to the third round.
All right, fair enough.
I
What
could
do you think,
definitely,
Pete?
I could definitely, uh, see your precision on that. I want to, come up with some sort of banter, but I don't see any area in which this fight takes place in which Uriah Hall has the advantage outside of his just explosiveness and
Explosive strike.
athleticism.
Yeah.
We've seen him like pull off, crazy finishes on high level guys before, but
Fluky.
call him what you want at the end of the day. But Jacare is an experienced vet of the game. I don't think he's really gonna put himself in a position where he can allow Uriah to thrive. And Uriah has also been known to kind of just cover up when he gets really pressured, and I think that's something that Jacare does efficiently, where he's able to apply pressure and transition from grappling to striking really well. We saw that against Chris Weidman. So I personally see this being a second round TKO. I think Jacare plays the first round pretty safe, just gauges his movements. You see like where his head's at, and the second round he goes in for the kill. I could see it being a TKO more so than a submission, just because I feel like Uriah Hall kind of gives up once he's in a bad position on the ground. He kind of just plays it safe and doesn't want to get finished. So I could see a second round TKO for Jacare for sure.
To add on to what you said, the wild card about all this, when you threw Uriah Hall into saying he could be explosive and somehow walk away with a win. Neither guy is really fighting for anything right now. You could argue that they're both just fighting for a paycheck. Jacare's there's not really a title shot in his near future. He's coming off a loss at middleweight against Gastelum, and then obviously the most recent one against Jan at light heavyweight. But obviously we all know Uriah Hall is not fighting for a title ever. So the fact that Jacare might be willing to be a little less hesitant and maybe a little what's the word I'm looking for? A little
He is
wild.
more geared towards putting on a show versus like
I mean,
securing a W.
he could be going to a little more, a little more of a reckless route, and that could work in Uriah's favor. Favor.
The UFC could definitely utilize fighters like this and give them like the Donald Cerrone kind of route, where it's like we know you have a fan base that's gonna always tune in when you fight, and if you continue putting on like exciting fights, you'll have a job here. I don't see anyone fighting on this card fighting to maintain their position in the company or if they lose this fight, they're gonna get released. I think anyone that's on this card is in good graces with Dana. So
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
yeah, it's really just about giving the fans a show, and I think it's especially Uriah. I haven't really heard too much from Jacare, but I know Uriah's in the gym. He actually moved into the gym that he's training at, I believe, somewhere in New York. And so, like you said, like the lack of, I guess the only stress being that everyone in the world's going to be watching. But besides that, it's really just go out there and just, make it your best performance.
I'm going to go against the grain, and I'm going to go with Uriah Hall. And because of what you said, I think this sort of fight is going to give him, or is going to bring him back to his tough roots when he sidekicked that poor fucking kid and almost killed him, where there was basically no crowd, and the tough atmosphere was basically built around beating the next guy and getting a contract. So I think by fighting in this atmosphere, it's going to bring out the old school Uriah Hall, going through the progression of going through tough and knowing that he needs to beat he really needs, this is a win and get cut fight, in my opinion, for him. Because, unfortunately, Paul Costa fucking murked him. But he did have moments where, his jab was working and, he was hitting him. Obviously, Paul Costa laughed at that and beat the fuck out of him. But, Uriah Hall had his moments against Mousasi. He's fought the best of the best, but, obviously he's fell short more than he's won. But I think this is the kind of fight and it's the kind of atmosphere where he's going to get back on the winning track, and he's going to hit him with some sort of wild shot and get the victory. That's my opinion.
Well, yeah, you could look at previous fights where he was up against someone really experienced, and they kind of expected them to just walk through them with when he fought Gegard Mousasi and through, I think it was a jumping, spinning back
to fucking grill
and followed up with another. Yeah, but I think he followed up with a flying knee, I believe, and finish him. And that's when, like you said, some fighters, they perform best when no one's really kind of expecting them to have a chance. But I feel like someone like Jacare, he's very disciplined, and he's so versatile that, I don't see anywhere where Uriah Hall has the opportunities to kind of throw those wild exchanges that he wants.
I agree, though.
We'll it's really just experience versus. I really think, not to say that Uriah Hall is inexperienced at all. He's definitely a vet by this point in his career, but I think it's really just an experience versus explosiveness types of fights. And but it makes for an exciting fight without a doubt. But I see Uriah Hall getting taught a lesson without a doubt.
All right, I guess we'll have to tune in to find out. All right, so what's the next fight of the card?
Next, that's strawweight in the women's division. It's 2020. You can't assume gender. Carla Esparza and Michelle Waterson. Waterson's coming off a loss against Jędrzejczyk. I believe that was a 5-rounder. I'm not really sure. Esparza, on the other hand, she's coming off a 2-win win streak. A 2-fight win streak. She lost against Tatiana Suarez, who's probably next to fight Zhang Weili. Is that her name?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
She's probably next. They call her the women's Khabib, but we're obviously talking about two different people now. Yeah, I think Esparza will win. I think she's had a long route back to the title picture. I think she was the inaugural strawweight champ, if I'm not mistaken, and then obviously Jędrzejczyk did what she did to most girls back then. So who knows? Maybe they if Carla wins this one, they match her up again with Jędrzejczyk, unless they fought twice already. I'm gonna have to fact check that quick. No, they fought once. Yeah, so maybe they run that one back. But yeah, I think Waterson's got more distractions. He's got a kid, married. You know how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll say Esparza by decision.
Okay. What round?
I say decision. I don't think she's gonna finish her.
What do you think?
Michelle's a tough girl.
I definitely feel like they're both maybe I bet they're both plus minus. That they both have areas in their game in which they succeed. Like where I would give them like slight edges over the other. I'd give the overall technical skill set to Waterson, but I feel like oddly enough, like you mentioned, ever since she became this like karate mom,
You want a water?
I'm okay.
she
Sorry.
not to say it's a distraction or anything, because we've seen fighters benefit from like that family kind of like lifestyle, but I could definitely see this going toward decision regardless. I see it going Waterson's way, ironically, just because I feel like she can control the tempo of the fight and kind of make it like a striking exchange over. It's a 3-round fight, right?
Mm.
Yeah, just make it a striking exchange over 3 rounds, and kind of score the points in the eyes of the judges.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you. I think Waterson squeaks out a decision. I think it's like a pit pat 3-round fight where it's like they exchange. I think Michelle gets the better of the exchanges and she squeaks out a decision. That works. All right. So what's the next one?
Next one we got at heavyweight. We got the return of Fabricio Verdum after his 2-year layoff, courtesy of a good old USADA ban. I'm not really sure what he tested positive for, but he's Brazilian, so I'm sure it's something nice. He's fighting Alexei Oleinik, who has lost 2 of his last 3. Like I said, it's been over 2 years since we've seen Verdum, and when we did see him last, he was getting TKO'd by Volkov. So when this fight was announced, a lot of people thought this was going to be the battle of the best 2 submission grapplers of the heavyweight division, and I'm not going to argue that. That's exactly what this is. Although I do see this as a 3-round stand-up fight. I'm going to lean towards Verdum. I think he's a little more polished on the feet than Oleinik. Oleinik tends to rely on the submission a little too much, or the grappling aspect. We saw that when he fought Alistair Overeem. They both lost to Overeem, ironically. But yeah, I see Verdum edging out a decision with this mostly being a stand-up fight where 2 grapplers are going to just combat each other and they're just going to stand up for 3 rounds. But I see Verdum pulling out the decision.
Okay.
If I had to guess, I would probably lean towards a 2nd round submission for Verdum. This is presumably in the case where he comes back when he's been training hard for 2 years, not really taking his foot off the pedal. We've never really seen him too out of shape from what we have seen of him in the media since his suspension. But like you said about being more polished on the feet, I feel like Fabricio, especially given his size advantage, I believe he might. I don't know the exact. I'm pretty sure he has a reach and a height advantage over Oleinik, and I just feel like we've seen more of his striking implemented in his game as a tool over his submission capabilities, whereas Oleinik is going to be. That's pretty much his bread and butter, what he goes forward with, and I don't think he can use it offensively against someone like Verdum, leading him to kind of play into the advantage of Verdum. I see the first round, them kind of go out there and want to trade heavy, where Verdum will have the advantage in the 2nd round, forcing him to go into like some sort of like desperation takedown where we see guys cover up at the end, and then either I feel like Verdum is the type of guy to go for the submission while on the ground, versus kind of edge out towards like a TKO finish. So that's where I see that fight happening.
I tend to agree with most of that. I'm going to be optimistic, and I think Oleinik survives Storm. And because of the inactivity of Fabricio, I think, especially Oleinik's been more active. I believe he's at 4 fights or 5 fights since Fabricio's been out, something like that. And
he's been pretty active.
Yeah, he's happy to be more comfortable in there.
Yeah, and like you said, he's fought Overeem. He's fought some elite guys, and he's fell short. And he is one-dimensional, and I completely agree. I think Fabricio is way better on the feet. I just think that he's going to have to survive a storm in order to win. Fabricio definitely has the ability to put him away. But I think, if he gets caught or maybe Fabricio gasses out a little bit trying to finish him and they do wind up on the ground, I feel like he has the ability to maybe submit Fabricio. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say he gets like a third round last minute submission.
And we also don't know because we've seen many fighters come back from performance suspensions and come back and they're brand new and nothing like the version that we saw prior to their suspensions. So we could be giving Verdum a lot of credit that's unmerited. Given I'm sure when you come back from suspension, you're double checking vitamin waters, the labels on the back to make sure that, you're not consuming anything that's going to end up fucking this up for you after all the fines and whatever. So different preparations leads to different outcomes. So that could work to or against his advantage depending on, what adjustments he's made. But, I see this playing into just Verdum's overall skill set versus his performance output, which I don't think has ever really been a problem in his career. And coming from a jiu-jitsu background, he should have the endurance to pick up from where he left off.
I agree. All right, so a question for both of you guys. Steve, you first. Does the winner of this fight get the next shot at the winner of what should be DC Stipe 3?
Not even close. That'll be decided on the main card between Rosenstrike and Ngannou, 100%.
Fair enough. What about you, B?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this is definitely a good night for the heavyweight division for sure. Given that there's two, I feel like this is the prerequisite to the Ngannou fight. Kind of letting the loser know of the Ngannou fight who would be facing the winner of kind of this fight, or any combination of that. Stipe and DC, I'm not sure if that's in talks, and if it is in talks, when, of course, given the situation of the world right now. But they've been, in back and forth for a while, which is kind of like held up the future of the division for the most part. Given respect to like DC, most likely whatever fight he chooses next, if he does fight, will be his last. So they kind of want to leave that title position open for him. But there's definitely with Verdum and how do you say it? Was Alexei Olenek?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you can go with that.
Close enough,
His name. And these two is definitely preliminary to Ngannou. And I won't even try to get to that name until later on.
Yeah, I agree. No, and I'm in agreement with both you guys. So I think that is those two guys are the next in line for the heavyweight title. Whoever it is. All right. So what's the next fight in the card?
So next should be a barn burner, or slobber knocker, as the legend Jim Ross would say. It's Donald Cerrone rematching Anthony Pettis at welterweight. One of you guys can go first. I'm tired of going first.
All right, that's fine. All right, yeah, B, you go first.
This is a fight that's gonna capture everyone's interest, just given how active both of these fighters have been, and especially for how long. We've seen the first fight, Anthony Pettis landed probably one of the most devastating body kicks we've seen in the UFC. In terms of just like a straight roundhouse, just completely sat him down. You can blame that Donald drinks too much fucking Budweiser, but at the end of the day, he crushed him and made him quit. Especially given both of their performances against Ferguson, who's also fighting on the card, and I believe also fought Donald at 170. Is that correct?
I think he fought him.
Was that 155 fight?
Yeah. No, Donald.
Yeah,
Donald,
I think it was the lightweight.
They both fought. They both fought Tony at 155.
Okay. Well, regardless of that, they could both, they're both around the same size. Again, I feel like we've seen Anthony Pettis play like the Thai style, where I'm gonna, that he used against, Stephen Thompson, where I'm just gonna stand in front of you and throw power punches and hit heavy. And we've seen him fight against Tony Ferguson, where he utilizes a lot of footwork and tries to angle out. I feel like he's more diverse in his attacks, and he could afford to stand and trade with Donald more than Donald can afford to trade with Pettis. And if you look at their growth over their careers, or more specifically since when they last fought, I feel like Pettis has had more success. I feel like he's a little more injury prone, but I feel like this is a fight where Anthony Pettis is going to be ready to kind of march forward and really put the pace on Donald. And we've seen in fights, anyone who could afford to throw a pace on him is going to have a lot of success. And I don't see. I just can't picture where Donald Cerrone would be best off in this type of fight. I don't see him being able to, put his body on Pettis and kind of like establish a grappling match. And I don't see him having the advantage on the feet either. So I'm going to go with Pettis again. Another finish. At this stage of their careers, I see it happening in the third round, and I see it going down with punches. I feel after the third round, he's going to, kind of land something heavy to the body, back up Cerrone, and just finish him there, and he'll be on his ass in the corner somewhere. Cerrone tends to break. I would love it to see Donald Cerrone pull out the. I wouldn't necessarily call it upset because they're both favorites, but I'm sure Donald Cerrone will be the underdog. So I would like to see Donald Cerrone pull out the upset, to set for a potential trilogy. But I see this going Pettis' way in the third.
Yeah, I gotta agree with everything, pretty much everything Brian said. He's, Cowboy's not a one-trick pony, but by any means. But at the same time, Pettis is very well-rounded, and I just think he's better everywhere. And that showed in the first fight. I see a very similar fight. Obviously, both guys are older, way past their prime. So I'm also going to pick a third round TKO via Pettis. But it's going to be interesting to see, what the lack of a weight cut, if you will impact on this fight. I would go out on a limb and say that Pettis, I would say it's harder for him to make 55 than it is for Cerrone. Although Cerrone is a little bit of a bigger dude, but he always came in a lot more lean, and Pettis sometimes showed up at 155, very, very flat, and obviously he's made 45 before, which I don't think Cerrone can do, but it will be interesting to see. I think Pettis packs more power at 170. Cerrone, he has flashes of power at 70, but I don't think he has anything that Pettis hasn't seen before. So once again, I think it'll be Pettis round 3 TKO.
Well, again, I'm going to go against the grain, and I'm going to go with the Cowboy. And I just think because he's fought.
Because you're on Cowboy's dick.
Well, that too. Actually, no, I'm on Connor's dick. But, he just fought Connor. So obviously, and I'm sure you guys already saw the interview where he's saying that Donald showed up and Cowboy didn't show up, blah, blah, blah. But I think he's going to want this fight, especially that, we all saw he got murked the first time and it wasn't even close. And if it was at 155, I would probably lean towards Pettis, but I think without the weight cut, he's going to be looking for the body kicks from Pettis this time around, I think. And I think kind of like the way the Ben Henderson fight went, I think it's going to be like a back and forth split decision. I don't think he's going to murk Pettis. I don't think he has that ability. But I think it's going to be like back and forth, and he'll squeak out a decision so they could do a trilogy, and then both of them can retire, because I think they're both at that point in their career where they're not going to contend for a title. Obviously, Pettis had a little bit more success. He got the 155 title. He was the champ at WEC. So it's unfortunate. It's going to be unfortunate if Cowboy retires without winning the championship, because he's been really close, and he's had some big fights, and he's fought the best of the best. But I see this fight going down as a back and forth split decision where Cowboy squeaks it out, and they could squeeze out a trilogy, and both of them can ride to the sunset.
I could definitely see Cowboy being really on his P's and Q's in this fight, understanding he could be finished. So that's why you could play a very tactical and smart, fight, which Donald has shown that he's capable of to take it to the judges for a decision. But it hit me because of this whole Conor kind of having the liberty to do what he wants, fight at 155, 170. This fight's at 170, but the thing about it, their last 2 fights is, like you mentioned, Donald fought against McGregor, which was at 170, but a relevant 155 fight somehow. Pettis fought Ferguson before this, and you assume Conor is getting whoever is the loser of Gaethje and Ferguson, which leaves Khabib somewhere in the orbit of like, who knows what the fuck. So,
TSP.
even though we think that these guys are out of the title contention, they're not as far out as, I guess, we would assume, just living our day-to-day lives and seeing the future, what lightweight and welterweight has to offer. But with the way the UFC is running, especially the lightweight division, with all the potential it has, there's really kind of, especially with Corona going on, it's kind of like, like hot potato, like who's quickest to jump on it. Because no one would ever presume that Cowboy versus Gaethje would be as close as it currently is, given Conor's rep of dodging like dangerous fights. But we've seen Cerrone fight Gaethje last year, so Cerrone and Pettis are both, I guess, closer to the title than, I guess, lazily thinking would assume. So who knows what type of fights both of these fighters are trying to put on right now. And we know how injury prone is Pettis, so they might both be trying to not necessarily go out on a whim and try to finish each other, but make sure to walk away with a W. So lots of ways this fight could take place, but I see the weight advantage working for Pettis' favor. I feel like Donald Cerrone's advantages at 170 were where his abilities to put combos together, not necessarily his footwork or that he was lighter on his feet. And I feel like he won't be able to establish those combos on Pettis like he would heavier guys at 170 who are a little more flat-footed. And I see the power advantage definitely going to Pettis, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's why they fight him out. We guys like us get to talk shit about it. All right, Stevie, what's the next fight?
Yeah, we can brief this one quick because there's not really much on the opponent. But Greg Hardy's going again. It's weird that he's fighting this guy after fighting Volkov. You think they would give him someone with more of a name, but
Derek Lewis, baby, the Black Beast.
Well, I'll get to that in a second because I think that Greg Hardy will win this fight. He's fighting Yorgan De Castro. There's not really much on. I had to kind of do my own due diligence on this guy. So he's 6-0.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 5 TKO finishes.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe this is obviously aside from Volkov, this is probably the best fighter he's faced so far. I think Juan Adams had like 2 losses in like 8 fights or something. The guy before that had like 4 losses in 8 fights. I don't know. But like subpar fighters, but that's expected when you have, a former NFL player, former NFL Pro Bowler, fighting for your organization. Yeah, I think Hardy will probably start him in the first or second. But I think after this, you've got to start giving him some guys with at least a name, maybe a top 15 guy. Because I don't know how long do you need? The heavyweight division, whether you like it or not, aside from flyweight, men's flyweight, it's not the deepest division in the UFC by any means. Guys like him can get away with being a little more green than the lighter guys. So it's now or never with him. You got to start giving him some names because these guys at the top are only they're only going to be around for so long. Heavyweight's brutal too. And you don't really see a lot of prospects coming in and out. Look how long we have to wait for a guy like Rosenstrike.
Mm-hmm.
We've been stuck with the same 3 or 4 contenders for years now. Between Stipe, obviously DC just got into the mix from light heavyweight, but in a way he was forced there.
Yeah.
This is completely off topic, but This is not even on the card, but OSP is fighting Ben Rothwell at
I saw that. That was crazy. Yeah,
That's I love it though
I
because
don't-
it's just like it's it's going to be interesting to see what a guy like OSP could do at heavyweight because he's a maniac.
that's. I mean, fight somebody a little smaller. Ben Rothwell's a weirdo, but he's a big boy, man.
Yeah, and he hits hard. But yeah, that's my prediction. I got first or second round TK.
All right, that makes sense. What about you, B? Greg Hardy.
Even someone as dangerous as Greg Hardy, I don't see him to be someone invincible. To be honest, I've never seen his opponent fight. I saw his record on paper, but that doesn't really tell you much. I think this is going to be a fight that no one really cares to see, but will like to see someone get hurt. But unfortunately, I see this as a fight going to decision. I don't think. I mean, I looked at his opponent. He looks like a big dude, but you know how like some guys manage to carry their cardio out. But we'll see. These guys are big dudes. It's a quarantine. Who knows what type of training they're putting in? My only stance in this fight is I have no idea why this is as high in the card as it is. I'm actually more interested in the Michelle Waterson fight, not making that like a jab towards women fights, but in just terms of importance and relevance and, technical showmanship. I feel like, we're not going to see anything we haven't seen. This should be, hopefully this is a fight where someone throws something nice and puts the other person away. But I see it going to a 3-round decision that upsets Dana and then throws Greg Hardy in, with the monster.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing. Yeah, because I'll be lying if I said I did my homework on this one. I really didn't. Unfortunately, I think it's an ESPN fucking ploy because he's a former football player to, get him on TV.
It is strange. It's just like he doesn't have like a notorious skill set. It's not like he was like a Ray Lewis caliber player where like he has this tremendous story behind him. He has a story which isn't a good one. Let's not even go down that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like he doesn't have like people are just impressed with the fact that he was fighting often and winning, but he wasn't. He was fighting guys that are just getting their foot in the door in the division, or just lingering in like their own local circuits.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he fought Volkov, and people were celebrating the fact that he just didn't get put away, which I don't think is a victory by any means.
Yeah, because he got pieced up.
Yeah, I never really saw Volkan just look like he was sparring in there.
Yeah,
and that's not necessarily a W. Like, no. I mean, in the concept of, oh yeah, I fought someone high caliber and didn't get finished. You don't take that as like I did well. It's like, oh, I kind of just went in there like a John Jones, OSP kind of fight. Whereas I went in there and made sure I got the W on you, and now I'll never see you again in your career.
Mm. Yeah, so I guess we'll see what happens. So I'm rooting for him to lose, but I think he's going to win. But one of those fights where it's like an ESPN fight, so we got to just put up with it. All right, Stevie, what's the next one?
Featherweight, Jeremy Stevens versus Calvin Qatar.
Ooh, all right, I'll take
this is.
Yeah, I'll take this one. I hate Jeremy Stevens, and I love the fact that Conor made him a meme. Just me personally, I respect his fighting ability as far as like he's a dog, but I'm rooting for the other guy just because I don't like Jeremy Stevens. So that's all I have.
That's a very educated approach.
I'm totally being a wrestling fan and
yeah, but what do you think is gonna happen?
I think Stevens has more power. I think he's gonna win. I think he's a little bit more experienced, but I'm gonna go on the side that he's also had his bell rung a little bit more, and that he's susceptible to get put away. So that's my hope.
So I'm gonna feed off that and say that I wasn't a big fan of Jeremy Stevens until the main reason why I wasn't a fan of Jeremy Stevens was because he decimated my boy Dennis Bermudez, who's a New York-based fighter. That was a great fight that they had. It was super close. and then he absolutely just pretty much ended his career right there, in my opinion. But Jeremy Stevens, especially, you know, we've seen him against, you know, really high level names. He's come super close to the title, and we've shown. Well, he's shown that, you know, guys like Calvin Kattar, who are up and coming. His last fight was against the Beat, and he's shown his technical ability there and his potential in the division for sure in fights like that. But I feel like guys like Calvin, who want to keep it on the feet and throw high level exchanges, guys like Jeremy Stevens, he's going to tuck his chin and swing that left hook and follow with a right hand and a powerful, you know, low kick followed up with another fucking hook. And I feel like, yes, he has had his bell rung a little bit more, but I feel like Calvin, being, you know, young and wanting to show like he's not about to get bullied by the old dog, is going to play into Jeremy Stevens' game more so than his own. I do think, you know, technique is superior, but, you know, Calvin Kattar is a dog, and we saw it in the Zabit fight. That, you know, I'm not gonna. You think I'm gonna sit here and let you kill me? You know what I mean? So he
I watched that fight the other
in
day.
there.
Yeah, he fought to the fucking last bell.
That was a 5-round fight. You definitely argue that it would have went Kattar's way, but, you know, this definitely won't be going to decision. I can promise that. With that said, I actually see Jeremy Stevens winning in the first, just where, you know, before Calvin Kattar could get loose, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, anytime you go into a fight like this, you know, or just any fight in general, like those first few exchanges is really what wakes you up, grounds you, lets you know where you're at, and, you know, set the pace moving forward. But with guys like Jeremy Stevens, they're coming out swinging so hard that, you know, just when you start, you know, getting used to making your laps around the ring, you know, you're being woken up while he's celebrating on the fucking, you know, on top of the eye. Establish the range early and make sure that the pace that they're fighting at is Calvin Kattar's. I see Stevens winning this with a knockout in the first round.
Okay, all right, not bad. Not a bad guess. What about you, Steve?
I see. I see Kattar edging out the decision only just because both guys have suffered setbacks in recent fights. They both lost to Zabit. Stevens is on a little bit more of a skid, but not to say he hasn't fought top guys. He's got the TKO loss to Jose Aldo. He lost to Zabit also, and then he had the 2 fights with Yair, or as Chael Sonnen would say, Yair. So that's 0-3-1 in his last 4. Fortunately for him, I think that Dana White and the UFC value him as a fan favorite and a guy that's going to go out there and swinging and banging. Yeah. So I think he'll get a little more leeway with the more losses he packs on. With that said, I do think that they're very similar fighters. I think that Kattar's a little more polished, a little more well-rounded, and I think that Kattar learns when he loses, whereas Stevens, it's almost like
he ices his head and goes back to the gym.
It's almost just like he finds himself in the same situations time and time again, and I think that if he could get over that hump, and if he could have the similar mindset to his training partner, Dominic Cruz, he'd have a lot more success. Considering, if you look at the numbers, he's got one of the the best. He's got the probably top 3 most powerful striking ability of anyone in the featherweight division. That's not really a division that's known for knockouts and TKOs, but I do think Kattar will beat him in the decision. I think Kattar will frustrate him from the opening bell.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have my biased opinion, but it's kind of like Kevin Lee too. Kevin Lee is like a guy who has these moments of like where you think he could be a world champion, and then he has this moment where he gets fucked up. So it's like I guess it depends what guy shows up that day. I mean, if it's a guy that showed up against like Josh Emmett and beat him, even though that was kind of controversial, But Jeremy Stevens kind of has that cowboy in him, where it's like we don't know who's going to show up.
I was definitely rooting for Josh Emmett during that fight, and I'll
Me
say
too.
it.
Me too. I like Josh Emmett a lot.
Listen, there were some strikes behind the head, but at the end of the day, you got fucked up.
Yeah.
Now that the bias is removed years later, that was a straight up W. Is what it is. But with that said, Jeremy Stevens said he wanted to kill himself after that loss to Jose Aldo, which you can imagine being that close to the title to get finished at that point in your career is definitely not an encouraging moment of your life. But fuck, I forgot where I was going with that for the most part. But pretty much, I feel like when Jeremy Stevens fights and he's thinking too much, he's trying to implement a mentality like, oh, this guy's getting over on me, so he kind of abandons his game plan and starts trying to just like earn his respect back within the exchanges. And going back to Steve's point of, he frustrates him, that could, work for or against him. And I feel like Qatar has that same mentality. You said they're similar fighters. I feel like he has a similar mentality where, I'm going to make sure that I earn my respect, within this octagon. But again, I see that working out towards the guy who's made a career out of taking punishment, at least in the face. And I definitely see Jeremy Stevens being able to afford more within the trades than Qatar would. I just feel like he's more powerful.
Yeah, and again, we'll see how it plays out once they step in the octagon. All right, so what's the next one, Stevie?
Oh, next one we've got the big heavyweight clash with Ngannou and Rozenstruik. I mean, if there's a fight on here that I had to put money on, it wouldn't be this one because I couldn't tell you who's gonna win this one. If you're gonna put a gun in my head,
if
and
you
make
want,
me pick, sorry, what are you saying, Brian? Go ahead.
I would just say, if you want, I'll take the lead on this one. I'm
Go
real
for it.
fucking pumped for this.
I have fucking literally no idea.
No, I got a prediction. I can go.
I'm gonna wait for you guys.
All right, let me just take this one last one.
Do it.
So, Steve, just do me one solid and just let me know how to pronounce the other gentleman's name, not Francis Ngannou, but
I think it's Rozenstruik. I'm not gonna try to
Rozenstruik.
But yeah, I'm not gonna try to butcher his first name.
Yeah, I don't have enough viewers where it matters.
All right, cool. So he's definitely a glimpse into the future of the heavyweight division. You can tell he's really well trained. He's what he does, which I think he does, which is shown best in the heavyweight division at least, is his ability to switch stances and create angles just off the side. As most people can tell, he's usually the smaller guy in in his fights. So the fact that he's able to put finishes on guys like Alistair Overeem, especially that late in the fight, speaks volumes. But the problem here with that is we've seen with Francis Ngannou and even with Stipe Miocic, guys who are able to put combos on him, they have so much to lose in those exchanges just because he has that X factor of that death punch. And given that Francis Ngannou is going to have the size advantage, I don't see this fight with that type of clash where two fighters are going to be trying to look to put on combinations, and someone like Francis Ngannou is involved where it lasts more than 3 rounds. It's a 3-round fight, but goes to the 3rd round. I see this being a first-round knockout for Francis Ngannou. I feel like that X factor will play perfect to whereas him and Derek Lewis didn't want to exchange, so we saw a stagnant fight. But Rozenstruik is gonna bring the fight to Francis. That's the way he wins this fight, is by implementing those angles. But I feel like within those angles, Francis is gonna be able to find something to put him down, something similar to like what we saw with him and Cain Velasquez, where you almost don't even see it coming, and he just gets dropped.
All right. So you got the Rozenstruik round 1 knockout.
He said Ngannou.
Oh, Ngannou. Sorry.
I'm gonna go opposite here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Rosenstrike's gonna pull this one out. I'm gonna say second round TKO. I say aside from Overeem, this is probably the most polished striker that Ngannou has seen. The only crutch with Overeem is that some would argue he has a glass jaw. But with the shot that Ngannou hit him with, I think Jesus Christ would go out with.
Yeah, dude, that uppercut was fucking filthy.
It's lethal, man. It hurts me watching it.
Yeah,
But the thing about Rosenstrike is he's he's polished. He's got over 80 kickboxing fights. No one's been able to figure him out in MMA yet. And to go undefeated in over 10 fights in the heavyweight division of any organization is just a feat itself. I do think that Ngannou is going to go in underestimating Rosenstrike. I think he'll have the mentality of that, I've already done everything this guy's done. He's just doing it, but just not as good. So I think the fact that, not a fact, but I think that Ngannou may possibly be underestimating Rosenstrike, so I think that's going to cost him. I think Rosenstrike's going to be able to TKO him.
I think it's going to be one of those quick fights. I think Ngannou is going to
You said in the second?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with first round within the first minute.
Phil, who do you want to win in this fight?
I don't know, man.
I don't think you.
I really like both of them. I mean, they fucking as a DC mark, I'm assuming if DC beats Stipe, I don't want him to fight either one of these fucking guys because they're both like savages and they both really.
I'll tell you why this fight's so interesting is because Ngannou has fought for the title already, so he's on the cusp of getting that title shot rematch.
He could have sat out and waited for it too.
Yeah, he could have, arguably. Rosenstrike, with this win, does he 100% guarantee himself a title shot? Probably not. And I'll tell you why not. Because this fight is just as important as the DC Stipe fight. Because obviously we know if DC wins, win or lose, he's riding off into the sunset. We're not going to see him again. So do you think that they use that opportunity, that if Francis wins this fight, that they run the rematch back with Stipe, giving Stipe a third title fight in a row? That would be a second rematch in a row for the title for Stipe. But they want to make Francis look strong if he beats this guy. So do you think that they're going to have, Francis go up against Derek Lewis for a title fight, or
I really think it's weird because
that's interesting.
It is, yeah.
Phil, I can't hear you.
Sorry.
I'm not sure if it's because I don't have headphones in anymore. But I just gotta charge my phone a little bit because it's low battery.
Okay, talk.
But,
go first.
It would be really disappointing to see if DC's gonna fight. You want to see him, get that rematch immediately because you don't want to have the concept of Stipe fights Francis and then for a second fight and then all of a sudden he wins or loses and then now Francis imagine fighting Stipe is one thing especially given the fact that he's knocked him out already, but imagine fighting a whole different beast in terms of DC fighting Stipe. Now DC, like in the event where Francis beats Stipe in the rematch, now I got to come back and fight Francis and Ngannou versus Stipe Miocic. So I feel like those are dangerous cards to gamble with, regardless.
I agree. Here's my. Where'd Steve go? Steve go? Oh, there he goes.
Put my headphones back in.
Okay.
Hey, yeah, I don't know what happened there.
That's all right. See, I have a weird pro wrestling angle about this. I feel like John Jones is so fucked that he's secretly hoping that Ngannou wins, and then he's like, "Yeah, I want to fight Ngannou," and then if I beat Ngannou, I want to fight Stipe. That's my prediction.
I don't think he wants anything to do with Francis.
But think about it, like with everything going on with John Jones right now, his fucking shelf life is real short. He can't stay out of trouble. So you might as well try to make as much money from fighting as you possibly can. There's nobody in the light heavyweight division that's going to beat him. Zero. Nobody. I don't care. 2-on-1, 3-on-1. He's beating everybody. So you might as well throw him the biggest fucking heavyweight you can. If he beats Francis Ngannou, he deserve or whoever wins that fight. Whoever wins that fight, I feel is fighting John Jones next. Because if John Jones beats any one of those heavyweights, there's no disputing whether he deserves a shot at the heavyweight title. So I'm selfishly hoping that's what's happened. Either I think Ngannou is going to win, or just as a bullshit.
Steve, can you hear me?
MMA fan?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
I can't hear Phil.
Fuck. Hold on, let me see. Steve, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I hear you now, Phil.
Oh, you can hear me now?
There you go. Why am I only seeing Brian?
I know. I'm trying to fix it where we could all see each other still.
There
All
you
right.
go.
Brian, can you hear
All
me?
right.
Yep, I got you guys.
All right. You want to go on to the next one?
All right, yeah. So yeah, that's what I think though. I think either guy who wins is going to fight John Jones. All right, so next fight.
So in the co-main, we've
Really?
got for
Yeah.
bantamweight.
Yeah, but yeah, let's move forward. But yeah, that's
I just think because we were just talking about John Jones having a short shelf life with he can't stay out of trouble. So-
John Jones is perfectly okay with retiring as a lifelong light heavyweight.
But I'm saying
he said it publicly, I think.
I agree, but I'm saying right now, to me, if he does want to get a heavyweight title shot, if he fights the winner of that fight, he's number one contender.
Well, at bantamweight in the co-main, we have Henry Cejudo fighting Dominic Cruz for some reason. Cruz hasn't fought since he got washed by Cody Garbrandt, a guy who was, also falling off the face of the earth. Cruz has been out for 3 years, 3.5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I love Cruz. He trains out of Alliance MMA. There's a lot of killers there.
Mm-hmm.
You almost wonder what goes on in that room. It doesn't ever get the AKA comparisons because then again, it's always Cruz that's hurt. So I guess it's just a personal thing for him. Cruz, honestly, he talks about the ring rust thing, but Cruz has probably been inactive more than he's been active in his MMA career. At least it's coming to the UFC when, they bought out WEC. Unfortunately, I think this fight's going to go very similar to how the Cody Garbrandt fight went for him, only with the grappling aspect. So I think Cruz is going to get out wrestled, probably get finished in the 4th or 5th round, just from being worn out. These guys used to train each other, so Cruz probably has a little bit on Henry, but I think Henry's game has evolved so much from fight to fight. Whereas Cruz is probably still the same fighter he was 10 years ago, if not a slower version. I don't see how Cruz pulled it out. I root for him. I hope he wins because I do like him, but I don't see how he wins.
Yeah. What do you got, B?
Well, believe it or not, there's no other fight in this card that I'm as excited for as this fight because, talk about, reasons for being in there. Dominic Cruz is like, dude, I'm fighting for the fucking belt. Like, he's in his Michael Bisping or GSP kind of, shoes right now where he's like, if I go in there and get fucked up, then that's pretty much my career. And if I go in there and win, then SMD, like I'm the champ now, So with that said, I think Henry Cejudo is better at every single aspect of MMA than Dominic Cruz is at this point. I feel like from when Cejudo obtained the title from DJ into his last fight, you definitely see a growth from fight to fight. He's become such a complete fighter over the years, and I feel like he's so strong and compact. His combinations are very explosive from start to finish, and I feel like you mentioned about Dominic Cruz's injuries, I feel like he's going to want to go in there and make it a 5-round fight. And if you look at guys like Cody Garbrandt and Henry Cejudo, you know, the 10-pound difference that exists there, I feel like Cejudo is still a stronger fighter than Garbrandt, and I feel like he's definitely going to be able to bully Cruz pretty much from start to end of the fight. And I see this being, you know, just out of all respect to Cruz, I'm going to say it's going to be a second round TKO. But yeah, I could definitely see us ending in the first without a doubt.
I think, not to cut you off, Phil, but I think it's going to be a very sad night for like lifelong Cruz fans, including for me, because I do like him a lot. I think it's going to be a really bad night.
Dominic Cruz when, you know, he first became mainstream in the UFC. I vaguely recall WEC, just like, you know, like the most endorsed fights I was aware of, but you know, nothing to make me like a fanboy of Cruz by any means. But so when Cruz first came in talking the shit that he was, you know, I didn't really buy into it for the most part. But then overall, he proved that he was worth, you know, talking the shit that he does. But same thing, I feel like, you know, his prime is, you know, you talk about, you know, Donald Cerrone and Anthony Pettis being past their prime. You know, I feel like Cruz's prime, if anything, to capitalize was his last title run, and then I feel like he was in the mix. And I feel like when you think about Cody Garbrandt, you know, fighting TJ Dillashaw, like they're back and forths to right now of, you know, in terms of like states of the division, it feels like decades ago. And now TJ suspended, not even in the picture, and who knows how TJ would fare with the current state of the division. And
we'll find out in about 8 months, I think. I think he's up.
Yeah. And Henry Cejudo looks fucking golden. Like, I say that just only ironically. But, and same thing, I'm not by any means excited to watch Henry Cejudo have the night of his career. But who knows? I'm hoping for the X Factor. It would definitely be exciting, you know, if you know, it'd be one of those things where you kind of look at Dana like, what the fuck are you gonna do now? So, you know, who I'm rooting, who I hope wins and who I think is gonna win are, you know, two total fucking opposites. Hopefully Cruz pulls out a decision and, you know, adds to his career, or
yeah, but you know what? The thing is,
that or he just makes it out of the first round. I'll be happy with either or.
I don't think anything good comes out of Cruz winning, just because there's so many killers at 135 right now. You've got Peter Yan.
It's like a Bisping thing where it's like, all right, you know, hopefully you get past GSP. If not, you got, you know, Gaston, Romero, you know, Costa. You got,
and you just don't know when he's going to be able to fight again. You know, he could get hurt. He can get hurt walking out of the octagon for all we know. But yeah. So what do you think?
I think you guys are putting a lot of fucking disrespect on Dominic Cruz's name, because if you look at history, he's beaten the same guy Cejudo beat. He beat Morales, right? He arguably beat TJ Dillashaw. I mean, granted, TJ starched, you know, Cody twice, and he lost to Cody. But I just think, like, stylistically, it's a perfect matchup for Dominic Cruz, because it's a guy that's going to try to do one thing, and Dominic Cruz is going to move around. He's going to pit-pat him for fucking 5 rounds and going to squeak out a decision.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna let you know what's gonna happen. Henry Cejudo is gonna throw very powerful roundhouse kicks that Dominic Cruz is gonna have no other choice other than to eat, because if he catches them, he's not gonna win the grappling exchanges, and
he's not gonna. He's gonna stay on the outside. He's gonna.
Henry Cejudo is gonna throw powerful roundhouses and hooks that are gonna keep him right on the center line, and then once he's there, he's gonna lower his level and then dump him on his fucking head.
But if you watch the Morales fight, he was getting he lost maybe the first 2 rounds 10-8. Like, Dominic Cruz never looked like that against Morales. Like, he wasn't. He breezed past Morales in WEC. Like,
no, he never fought. He never fought Morales.
Didn't he fight him in WEC?
I don't think so.
Double check that, boy.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't think No, Marias is a World Series guy.
Ah.
Yeah, watch it.
All right, well, I got Dominic Cruz, and I got it by 5th round decision.
Okay. Last but not least, Ferguson Gaethje.
Here we go.
Let you guys go first. I want to go last on this one.
You want to go first, B, or you want me to take it?
Up to you.
I'll knock it out of the way.
You're the shot caller. You want me
Say
to start?
again?
Want me to go?
Yeah. You
Wrapping
go,
up right
you
now.
go first, B.
All right.
Clean one right there in the closet.
I'll make this one quick. I got Gaethje in the 2nd round. I feel like Ferguson's been under pressure for a long time. I feel like he's gotten very consumed in the Khabib versus Ferguson train of that, kind of like buying into your own hype. He's made a career out of being very risky. I feel like this fight with Khabib was a fight he could definitely have won, especially with his style. But we know styles make fights. I feel like Gaethje is going to be stronger. I feel like, will he get cut up? Absolutely. But even in the 1st round, Kevin Lee versus Ferguson, he was at the bottom of Mount and he was taking punishment. I feel like with Gaethje, he knows he can get hurt, but like any other fight, where he faces dangerous guys, he's gonna, he's gonna show you, I'm dangerous too. And I feel like with Ferguson, he's been clipped, he's been rocked, and I just feel like Gaethje is really intelligent with his ruthlessness, whereas Ferguson is reckless with his ruthlessness. And I feel like that's gonna play into Gaethje's game, and I feel like he has the right mentality right now where he's like, I'm about to fucking be the guy that turns the light on in this apartment. And there's going to be, that the party is over basically, Yeah. So I got Gaethje 2nd round knockout. I think it'll be the 1st round. I think there will be some moments of like excitement. It will mainly go to Justin. And then the 2nd round, he's just going to start him.
Yeah, I'm on that same ship. I think between the wars that Ferguson's been in and Gaethje's kind of like resurgence and getting back on track and beating Cowboy and beating what's his name? Not Charles Oliveira. Who's the guy that Barbosa, like just his run and him getting back from losing to Dustin and losing to Eddie Alvarez. I feel like it's his time now. And it sucks because we're not going to see the fucking Tony Khabib fight if, unfortunately Gaethje comes in and spoils the party. But I'll be happy for Gaethje because I think, ironically, he has more tools to beat Khabib than Tony does, just in my opinion. But I agree. I think that Gaethje gets it done in the 2nd round, and I think he's fighting for the title against Khabib sometime at the end of the summer.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the complete opposite direction here. It was at some point during this 12-fight win streak with Ferguson. You say, okay, now it's gonna be the fight where he, takes it out, but the guy just kept beating killers, straight killers. Like you said it, Cerrone, Barbosa, Dos Anjos, Kevin Lee, the list goes on. Pettis. Like, how many more guys does this guy have to beat?
Quick. Actually, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Quick pause.
Sure.
If Pettis doesn't break his hand in the 3rd round, do you think that Pettis beats him?
Pettis is fading, dude. Pettis is fading, bro.
Pettis. There are many opponents in the lightweight and welterweight division where Pettis breaks his hand and goes out in that 3rd round.
Okay, just throw it out there.
He goes, if I fight Tony Ferguson with one hand right now, I'm gonna die.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right,
I just listen.
No, I believe you. That's why I just want to throw it out there. Just
that was an amazing fight. All hats off to Pettis. But
he had him hurt
that was a very disciplined and veteran decision he made. He's like, listen, I want to fight, again soon, so let me not fucking,
All right.
He did the smart thing. Absolutely, I would have done that in the fucking second
Yeah, no
round.
reason to get beat up, especially if you can't punch. Yeah, no, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I get Stevie.
Well, I mean, so you guys said that, or I think you said it, Phil, that Gaethje had was probably a better matchup stylistically for Khabib. I assume you said that because of his collegiate wrestling career,
Correct.
but obviously we haven't been able to see that in MMA. And if I can be honest with you, I don't think we're going to. I don't think he's disciplined enough to follow a specific game plan. I think it's been known that he's willing to abandon the game plan the second it goes wrong.
I actually I don't mean to cut you off. I disagree a little bit because with his last, if you especially the fight against Barboza, like there was a moment where he had Barboza hurt, and normally he would just try to like tuck his chin and start throwing, but he backed up. He was very. I mean, he took some shots even against that bum. What was the guy
Michael
talking
Johnson?
against Jason Vic? Even
James
that
Vick,
fight,
yeah.
he took some hard body shots right before he knocked him out. Like he was getting tagged, and the old Justin I felt would have just bum rushed him and just put his chin down and started throwing, but he kind of reassessed, got his angle, and then eventually caught him. So I mean, to your point, I do agree. He does have. I feel like have that where like Dustin showed, where Dustin clinged him, and he got into that mode where he's going to just put his head down and swing, and throw kicks. But I feel like because of those fights with Eddie and Dustin, he kind of was like all right, I got to evolve a little bit. Like I got to know when to back out again. And obviously, you and Brian could speak more for this than I could because I'm never been in a sparring session where I've got my bell rung. But I feel like he's kind of overcome that, and no one's tested the wrestling pedigree because they know it's there. And I think with Tony, his jits is obviously way better, but I feel like they're going to stand and trade with each other because they know their ground game is 50-50. And I think Justin's going to get the better of that with his power. And I think, like I said, everybody's chin's got an expiration date, as we saw with like Chuck Liddell and some of the guys that had like rock chins. And I just feel like Tony's at that stage of his career where he's been rocked so many times. Like when's that one shot going to be just the shot that puts your button out? Like Vanderlei. Remember Vanderlei used to Vanderlei fought fucking Mark Hunt and got fucking and took shots. And then all of a sudden he was getting knocked out by fucking bums. So it's that's where I think Tony's at right now. Tony
Vanderlei thought those fights in Japan were real. That's the problem.
I know. AKA Chael Sonnen.
Can't let you get close.
The American gangster himself. But yeah, I mean that's just where I think as great as Tony is, I just feel like
just guessing, not to cut off. I figure Tony Ferguson's game plan is I want to kind of tie your hands up, threaten you with elbows high to push you up against the fence, so I could get an overhook and just kind of piece you up at will with because where Gaethje's gonna have success is in the long range. The more space between them, the better for Gaethje because he's gonna be able to load up and throw power and be able to throw with power.
Mm-hmm.
I see Ferguson having success with long jabs, but I don't see him wanting to keep it in the center for long. And I feel like that marching forward style, if like you said, if educated Gaethje comes out and he's able to circle out well and land on the way out, I feel like Gaethje is going to have a lot of success. But my biggest thing is when you talk about punches, is one thing is like a category which stands on its own. But I forget how long ago it was where Ferguson cut weight to 155 and. It's admirable without a doubt, and it's a testament to the type of sick fuck that he is. But if you look at a picture of him on 155, he did not look good. So he's about to go back down there, and I heard someone say, "Oh well, he's a wrestler, so it is what it is." He's also 34 years old. This isn't fucking high school.
36, no?
Exactly. Yeah, he's in his mid 30s. So with that said, Gaethje, I'm sure, has been relaxed at home, training when he wants to training, doing what he can, where he can. And, that is going to play a factor. But Tony Ferguson is a different breed of Mexican-American. I wanted to say it, but he's Frankenstein. He really is. And we've seen Gaethje get finished before, but styles make fights. If I just to go off on a tangent, I think I agree with Steve. I think Khabib versus Gaethje is a nightmare matchup for Gaethje. I think Gaethje beats Ferguson. I think Conor beats Gaethje. I feel like Ferguson beats Khabib, and I feel like Conor gets fucked up by Khabib again, and also gets fucked up by Ferguson.
All right, well, don't go too far down that road because that's what was going to be like our segment.
Well,
Actually,
all right, so you guys
all right, so Steve, just to
both
finish
pick
the main
Gaethje
event, who do
round
you
two?
got? Ferguson or Khabib? I mean, Ferguson or
You guys both had Gaethje round 2.
Yeah,
yeah.
KO.
All right. I'm gonna double the rounds, but I'm gonna go Ferguson round 4. Brian said that if an educated Gaethje shows up, I've yet to see that guy. The problem for Gaethje is gonna be
Not
that.
against Barboza though. Like,
Yeah, but listen, Barboza's not a smart fighter. He's not known for fight IQ. The problem is for Gaethje is going to be that Gaethje's been rocked in every fight in his life, except for the Vic fight and the Barboza fight. He didn't
oh no,
really
he
rock.
got rocked in the body. He got hit in the body. If you watch,
Yeah,
I
no,
watched
he's been kicked. He's been kicked a few times. The thing is, if Ferguson hurts you, he's got more than one ways to finish you. Whether it's he'll throw on a Darce from double underhooks. He doesn't, he'll ankle pick you. You know what I'm saying? So I think that once he has Gaethje hurt, it's going to be a wrap. However way he wants it. If he wants to finish it with strikes, he'll do it with strikes. If he wants to do it with submission, he'll do it, via submission.
I really like. I feel like he doesn't have the power that Gaethje has. Like even against Kevin Lee, like I watched that fight, back a couple of days ago. Like Kevin Lee was catching him with shots, and not, if Kevin Lee's going to catch him, Gaethje's going to catch him. And to me, it's like he's had how many fights in between that fight with Kevin Lee up until now. Like that chin's been a little bit more worn down, and if Gaethje catches you flush, like most people go to sleep or they at least get knocked down. So I'm looking forward to that fight.
Yeah.
All right, but that wraps up the main event. So now let's just do like a quick rapid fire as far as like the lightweight division specifically, because that's the one that's exciting me the most. I'm sure exciting you guys the most. There's a lot of contenders. Dan Hooker's emerging. The fight he had with Paul Felder. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Brian. Was really good.
Felder,
See what I did there? See what I did there?
Yeah,
I
well,
think
a
I
lot
won
of people
that fight.
will argue
Let's
that
fucking
Paul.
round.
And I actually thought Paul Felder won. I thought Brian won.
Too.
That was a great fight, Brian. I'm glad that you went toe to toe with Dan Hooker like that.
I was fucking robbed.
Yeah, I really thought you were. I thought you actually did win that by decision, but that's just my opinion. All right, so just fantasy matchups real quick. What do you think Dan Hooker stands in this division? Do you think he gets like Dustin next, or which looks like it might happen? What do you think is the best fight for Dustin coming up?
I would say I'd say him and Dustin makes the most sense.
There's Blue. Doing what he does best, eating. Sorry, guys, Steve.
Yeah, I would say him and Dustin makes the most sense. I don't see him getting anyone else after beating Paul Felder of all people. Yeah, I'd say him and Dustin makes sense. I would like to see that fight.
All right. What do you think about you? What about you, B?
I agree. I feel like it's a fight that makes sense. I think they both verbally agreed that they want the fight on Twitter, which definitely makes UFC promotion jobs a lot easier. If I'm Dustin, I prefer the loser of If I'm Dustin, I want the either I want Gaethje or I guess it makes for the most exciting fight. But that's the thing, with Conor and Khabib and all this fucking mayhem going on, 55 and not fighting anybody, it definitely makes things a little wild and hectic. But definitely it makes sense for Dustin and Dan Hooker. I wish I could, think of a different fight for Dan, but that seems to be like the only fight that makes sense. Given the state of the world and also all these lightweight fights that we're about to see.
I agree. No, well, I completely agree on that aspect. And then as far as where we will wrap it up is, where do we see Conor McGregor? What's the fight that makes sense? Let's just say, let's say Tony wins. Do we see a
I feel like if Tony wins, they try to hold him off to fight Khabib for as long as they can, but apparently Khabib's dad is hospitalized. There's a lot of news like that. Who knows what the fuck is going on? Because Dana reported that he doesn't think that it'll happen in 2020, regardless of the outcome of Tony versus Gaethje, which is fucking miserable. Me personally, he just beat Donald Cerrone, who is fighting Pettis, who had previously fought Ferguson, or did, who knows? I feel like the fight that makes the most sense would, I don't think they want to put Conor against Ferguson before Khabib. I feel like they want to hold off Conor as long as possible before he fights Khabib again. So I actually don't see him fighting at all until either Ferguson gets the strap or Khabib is, has bounced off his victory or defeat with the winner of Ferguson and Gaethje.
The other thing is, I think the Ferguson matchup is probably one of the better matchups for Conor, despite
I agree.
Despite Ferguson's jiu-jitsu skills. I don't think that Ferguson's ever walked into the octagon with someone who hits as hard as Conor. Yeah, and obviously we can all admit it. Ferguson pretty much gets hurt every fight, but would he be able to survive, the onslaught of McGregor? If he can't, or if he can rather, that 10 minutes, then it'll be an easy night for Ferguson, obviously, considering he's got really good cardio. But yeah, I don't know why they don't, the McGregor camp doesn't try to get that Ferguson fight a little more. But I do think that
I personally feel like it's that jiu-jitsu X factor where that he could be coming forward with elbows and then turn it into a fucking Russian necktie, and just now you're on the ground on all fours. That was his that snap jitsu was like his claim to fame before he started really trading.
I think he should fight the loser of the main event of next week. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I agree too, and that makes the most sense too, because obviously he got by Cowboy pretty quick, and I like Cowboy a lot, so it sucked. I was hoping to at least be entertaining. At least went back and forth, and it was what it was, and I think that's the best.
In the case where, let's say, Tony wins, right, and Conor faces a loser, and let's say Khabib's out of the picture, who fights Ferguson then? Because I personally, if something's going on with Khabib's dad, he's not fighting for the
well, I don't think he's gonna fight anytime soon anyway, because Ramadan. So he probably wouldn't fight.
I think it ends like July.
So yeah, assuming he fights late fall, early winter, he could still do something by Christmas. If something's going on with his dad, I don't think it's gonna last all that time. I hope his dad gets better, but yeah, we'll see what happens, I guess. I mean, I'm just excited for Saturday. I'm not really looking beyond then, because there's enough fights on Saturday to be excited for, to not really have any concern about what goes on in December.
Involved in the card, because it's really a testament to how fucking crazy the sport is. Where, to be honest, I see this being the best card of the year, without a doubt, and probably one of the best.
Why not?
Yeah, no, it's definitely stacked.
They literally pulled it out of their asses. So.
And there's going to be 3 more cards that week, I think, or something. They're gonna get him done.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
They're gonna try to free him up.
Is already is fighting Calvin Harris or Walt Harris.
Walt Harris?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Calvin
Teixeira
Harris
Smith.
Is an EDM artist, I believe. He's not related to mixed martial arts whatsoever.
Yeah, Anthony Smith is fighting Teixeira. Yeah.
They should honestly they should make Anthony Smith just fight the guy who tried to rob him and just put
Dude,
it on.
that was a fucking scary. That's a scary story, man. That's crazy shit. Like the
Yeah,
fact that he said, but he was beating him. Yeah, but come on, but dude, like if the guy was on,
all I gotta say is John Jones is a fucking like I'm still a fan of his. I hate to say it, but he's a piece of shit.
He really
like,
is. He's so fucking
he really is the fucking But hey, listen.
What happened to Steve? Is he, was he frozen?
Nah,
man.
Steve is about to
Oh,
start
there you
playing Grand Theft Auto.
All right, well, thank you, boys. I appreciate your time, and that's that's the whole card. I mean, I want to do a follow-up podcast after it's done, so that we could talk shit about who was right, who was wrong. I'm sure I'll probably be the one that was wrong most of the time, but I appreciate
What you should do is I'm not sure how good you are with editing or
not good at all. Not good at all.
but pretty much you could like, or maybe just put it in the caption somewhere. They just take notes on who said who, like, what are who's predict. You know what I mean? Like whose predictions for which fight. So people just want to check to see who's right or wrong. Or maybe like I could do it. Like I can bring up like like the card and the matchups, and like we each have like a Brian picked this person, this person, this person.
Somebody smarter than me. Either one of you guys could help me. I appreciate it because that way we could see who's who ultimately got the most right and who got the most wrong. But I'm definitely not smart enough to do all that stuff. So if you guys want to take,
all right, well, at least
you guys
we know where the responsibility lies.
yeah, right. So basically, it's never going to get done.
It's like great idea, and if you get that done, I'd really appreciate it.
You're like, yeah, you picked Ferguson round 5, right? Yeah. We all did that.
You go back to the tape. Oh, it's not there. Fuck you. All right, boys. I appreciate your time. Brian, how's the how's the rap thing going, man? You getting further with that thing?
Right now, all the studios are closed. I was waiting for a good while for my unemployment checks to come in, just because
I'm in that same boat, brother.
But luckily they just went through, so I'm looking forward to investing in a mic. I do have one song on Apple Music and pretty much anywhere you can think of, literally on TikTok and Instagram. If you just say play Mr. October by Brian the Barbarian, my song's gonna come up and you're gonna hear a good song, and more music on the way. I got songs on Snapchat, but ultimately like anything else, is a progression. I'm mainly focused on fitness right now, just because there's so much time. Weather's getting nicer, and just like anybody else, I've been a fucking bum for this quarantine. I'm about to dog one of the cookies that Steve's girlfriend brought over. So
yeah, go for it. Well, that's awesome, man. Keep pursuing your dream, man. The same way when I was trying to do the comedy thing, I'm hoping to go back and do that too once hopefully everything gets back to normal. So chase that dream, dogs. See, what about you? No problem, brother. What about you? You become a wrestler? You gonna get back to wrestling, man?
Nah, man, I'm not watching wrestling anymore.
What about being a wrestler? You gonna get back into it, man?
Not gonna do it.
Come on, man.
Let it go, Phil.
I'm just saying, man. You got the athletic ability. You could be the next Chris Jericho.
Fuck you.
All right. I tried. All right, brothers. I appreciate your time. Stay safe. Keep doing what you're doing. I miss you guys. We're going to do a 249 podcast or recap after the event. So just keep like an hour available for me, like once that's done, so we can talk shit and see who won, see who lost, and get ready for it seems like the month of UFC.
Yeah.
let's do it, man.
All right, guys. Love you. Stay safe.
Love you guys.
See you soon.
Fuck you.